Mr. Speaker, your admiration for the Constitution of Ghana, very respectfully, is something that we all take pride in. And for that reason, I wish to bring to your attention a constitutional infraction, very respectfully, potentially. And this is Article 102 of the 1992 Constitution. Very respectfully, Mr. Speaker, if I may take the liberty to read. A quorum of Parliament, apart from the person presiding, shall be 1/3 of all the members of Parliament. Mr. Speaker, very respectfully, this is a substantive position of the Constitution, which requires that we do not proceed with government business unless we have the requisite quorum. Indeed, Mr. Speaker, by our own standing orders, Order 64, we are also guided to ensure that we do not proceed unless we have quorum. Mr. Speaker, a critical look at the number in this House is less than 40, far below the number. Mr. Speaker, at the last sitting, you adjourned proceedings to today at 10 o'clock. Mr. Speaker, it's almost 12 o'clock, and the House does not have the requisite number. Very respectfully, notwithstanding the 185 or so members of the majority. Mr. Speaker, we still do not have the quorum. Mr. Speaker, we in the minority are ready to do government business to support. But Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, very respectfully, Mr. Speaker, very respectfully, considering your love for the Constitution, considering your knowledge of the Constitution and the fact that same lies in your bosom, I am only holding your leg and urging you to pay fidelity to the provisions of the Constitution, which requires that without the requisite quorum, we cannot proceed. Mr. Speaker, I humbly pray that you take this very respectfully into serious consideration.
Honourable Member, are you on your feet? Honourable Majority Leader.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, you are aware that the Right Honourable Speaker of Parliament has a breakfast prayer meeting at which many of our colleagues are in attendance. He has advertised it, and I'm aware that a lot of us are aware, and then they are at the program. But, Mr. Speaker, I encourage compliance with the provisions of our Constitution. If the honourable member still wishes to press on his question of quorum in spite of Speaker's program, we can do according to the standing orders, which is to take the step of ringing the bell. Except to say, Mr. Speaker, that the bell has been dysfunctional for close to a year now. Unfortunately, the bell has been dysfunctional for close to a year now. And so last week, when you asked that the bell should be rung, they only rang the bell around the chamber block. But the members of Parliament are not sitting around the chamber block. Some are actually sitting in their offices. And so if you direct that the bell should be rung, then you must direct that the person ringing the bell until the electronic bell, which is connected to every MP's office, is fixed. Then you will have to direct that the person must ring on all the floors up to the 11th floor, so that effectively the MPs can be aware that the bell has been rung. So I have no objection if he wants to press on the question of quorum, and I have no issue with us having the bell rung, but then you must extend and direct the clerks that they must ring on every floor, because since last week I have been on them. I called an emergency meeting of the clerk and his staff, and I insisted that they must fix the bell by yesterday, Monday. As at this morning, I checked on them, and they have not yet fixed the electronic bell. So anytime you ask that the bell should be rung, the MPs in their offices don't get notice that we are calling for quorum. And that is how come that you don't get them in the chamber in order for you to be able to meet the quorum requirements. So I have no problem. If you insist that we must press on the provisions of Order 64, let's go ahead and take the next step.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minority Chief Whip. Yes, I recognize you.
Speaker, with respect to the Leader of the House, I sense his frustration, and he spoke to his frustration. Unfortunately, I'm not aware about the difficulty we ran through as a House because of the challenges associated with the bell. And I find that as a very fundamental challenge. Speaker, the issue of the bell should have been resolved long ago. And this brings us back to the matter I have been raising. Issues such as this, we should have been dealt with already if we had, for instance, our House committee in place. They would have followed up and make sure these matters are dealt with. I am not too sure the reasons cited by the leader will come to a stop the Speaker from proceeding ahead. Because this is, as he does know, this is a constitutional requirement, and I least expected this matter to be raised. And Speaker, you know, we have shown readiness to work. At the conclave, we were there. As soon as the table office gave us heads up that the first deputy was there, I stopped whatever I was doing. Together with my deputy, we were there. We waited for a while for the chief whip to be called. He was nowhere to be found. Then subsequently, the leader came. So, also, on Friday, Speaker, you gave prior notice of a sitting time. And the votes and proceedings rightly captured it. Sitting is adjourned to Tuesday, 11 a.m. Prior notification was given. 10 a.m. So the notification was given ahead. So the concerns about the bell, it can be resolved. But today, it cannot be cited as a reason. So, Speaker, humbly, I speak to consolidate and corroborate what my colleague said. Let the process begin. And the majority should mobilize its members. We have come. We have tried. Bring your 137. Your 187. Yes. But don't forget, bring... Leader, we want to plead with you. Try and bring, and I see my colleague walking in elegantly. He should bring his numbers. Because we got one, it was not for nothing that the people of this country gave you 187. 187. And you cannot marshal half of 187. Oh, Abba. Because we are... Ordinarily, we would have wanted to withdraw this matter. But since it's a constitutional matter, and Speaker, you are a renowned, a very respected lawyer, I think we should respect the provision of the Constitution. And then they should have a caucus meeting. They should have a caucus meeting. Now you can see what I was going through when we were on the other side. My friend should have a caucus meeting and talk to his people that they have to come and do government business. So, Speaker, we are in your hands. Let the process begin. The absence of the bell cannot be an excuse. So, respected Majority Leader, we understand, we can see your frustration, but on this occasion, we are unable to yield or accede to your request. The difficulty associated with the bell cannot be cited as an excuse. Speaker, shall we proceed with the process?
Thank you very much, Honorable Majority Leader.
First and foremost, it is not easy to get me frustrated. So I'm not frustrated. I just feel that we should indulge the Speaker's religious ceremony. As we speak, about 110 MPs are sitting. Yeah, about 100. I counted. About 110 MPs are sitting there. And I was hoping that the minority members who are not there would have been here. But It's not as if when our side is not there, your side is there either. But I agree with you that we should all be here. There isn't much government business. I think we are basically looking at taking statements and facilitating the fresh MPs to find their feet, to start making statements and start contributing to debates. If we really had serious government business to conduct, I can assure you that every single member of my side will be sitting right behind me to conduct government business. But as you know, we don't have much government business, or even any today. There's no specific government business today to conduct. So we're just going through the normal business of the routine of statements and then comments on statements. So the impression that the minority chief whip seeks to convey to Ghanaians that we are not serious about government business. There's no government business here. There's no business. There's no bill before us. There's no loan agreement before us. There's no budget before us. There is nothing before us. So there's no government business before us. So don't get the impression that there's government business and the MPs on this side are not available to conduct government business. So let me assure you that when government business comes to this house, you will see that the NDC members are here in their numbers to conduct government business. So let me assure you that they will be coming in their numbers, and you will soon see them here. When they leave the speaker's breakfast meeting, they will be here in the chamber and will conduct business. But thank you very much for standing down the issue of quorum that you have raised, and we can continue.
Honorable Deputy Minority Whip.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. I don't know whether it is the case that the majority leader is saying he asks his members not to be in the chamber because they have no business to do. And also, Mr. Speaker, it must not be captured that the person who made the application for quorum had withdrawn it. That's not accurate. He did not. It should not be in our record that he has withdrawn that. Maybe the majority leader and the leader of government business didn't hear him well. But the minority whip didn't raise the quorum issue. And procedure, if it is the person who has raised that quorum issue is the one who ought to withdraw it, then so must be done. But the majority leader must not create the impression that there is nothing to do. We are telling Ghanaians that we are sitting here wasting their time, that we have nothing to do. Is that the case? Is that what the majority leader and the leader of government business is saying? So, Mr. Speaker, Ghanaians gave them the 183 for a reason. And we are here that you cannot even marshal 91, which is about 1/3 of 275 so far declared. And I don't think it is a good thing to do. So, Majority Leader, Mr. Speaker, so it is not true that the quorum issue under Article 102 of the 1992 Constitution has been withdrawn. This is a constitutional matter. You can't use meetings outside Parliament. You can't use other committee meetings as. We have been able to close down committees meeting to have quorum in the chamber. So if it is the case that you have 110 members somewhere, they are not in the chamber, and we need the numbers in the chamber to commence business. And I invite you, as a lawyer, 22 years and more at the bar, you should respect the Constitution and enforce the Constitution. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Point of correction, I'm now 23 years at the bar. Honorable Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I thought that the minority chief whip, in the concluding part of his statement, did indicate to you, Mr. Speaker, that you could continue business according to what we have on the order paper. So I assumed that he was speaking on behalf of his backbench, who had raised the issue of quorum, who obviously has stood down the matter. So I am surprised that my friend, who has always pretended to be my friend, only outside when he gets there. Oh, you are my junior brother. It is worse. He always pretends to be my friend, and yet he's the one causing the trouble. When your chief whip has said that we should continue according to the business of the day, then you get up and say that you don't think that the issue of quorum has been stood down. The issue of quorum has been stood down.
Mr.
Yes,
Speaker,
Honorable
the majority leader is trying to filibuster. I was in the lift with some members of his side, and they were in a hurry that their chief whip was whipping them into the chamber. So for the first time, he's all over the place. He's now seen how hard it is to do government business. So he's delaying to fill for the place and all. Mr. Speaker, he makes a certain point. He says that there is no government business, so there's no need to whip his side. Let me remind us, he said that whenever there is government business, you will see his numbers in the chamber. Let me remind him, when you were doing the first approval, the first nominee, the first batch, you were not up to 100. You needed outside to add to your numbers. The second batch, you were not even up to 91. We counted you. On all 4 occasions, you needed the minority, the mighty minority, Mr. Speaker, point of correction, the mighty minority to make you pass your ministers.
Honorable Minority Leader,
Yes,
you are
please.
introducing an adjective. When they also start, that will be problem.
Mr. Speaker, on this occasion, they can start.
So
They can
it's
start.
minority
Mr. Speaker, they can start.
and majority.
Mr. Speaker,
I am okay with minority and majority.
Mr. Speaker, they can start. They can call themselves super minority, super majority. Mr. Speaker, so if you look at all these empty seats, in this chamber now, Mr. Speaker, the so-called super majority is not even up to 50. They are not even up to 50. Mr. Speaker, rule on the application now. This House must stand adjourned. Rule upon this application. The application has not been withdrawn. Rule on it. Rule on it so that next time they will know how to whip their members in.
Honorable members,
Yes.
Honorable
Mr. Speaker,
Majority
he's
Leader.
using that. He's using that. That is a tactic. Oh, so now you can also filibuster. Oh, I see.
Honorable Minority Leader, I don't know
Mr.
whether
Speaker,
this
please
is
rule.
filibustering.
Mr. Speaker, you have to rule on this matter.
Yes,
Rule on it now.
yes.
This House must stand adjourned. Mr.
Yes.
Speaker, you can't do anything about it.
But
Don't encourage him.
when the leader is on his feet, I cannot ignore him.
Mr. Speaker, not against
Just like
the
I cannot
Constitution.
ignore you as a minority
Very
leader.
well. Mr. Speaker, you'll be quoted for what you have just said. Very,
Very well.
profound.
Yes,
When
very
the
well.
leaders are on their feet, you can't ignore them.
Yes, yes,
Very well. We've heard you.
yes. Honorable Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, it is factually inaccurate for the minority leader to say that during the consideration and approval of the ministerial nominees, this House did not have a quorum, but for the participation of members of the minority. Mr. Speaker, is he saying that members of the minority are not part of this House, or that they have no obligation to constitute the quorum of this House? And so on what basis do they take monthly salaries, Mr. Speaker? On what basis? What were they elected to do? To come and sit outside the chamber of this House. You were elected to equally sit in this chamber the same way the people on this side are supposed to sit in the chamber. So when you sit in the chamber, you perform your public duties. Mr. Speaker, if I start citing members of the minority for not being in the chamber, we will not, and look at them at all times. They don't even have 1/4 of their number in the chamber. Mr. Speaker, is it a deliberate ploy? But Mr. Speaker, that is not the issue. As we speak, they are not even up to 18. Ghanaians gave them 88. Ghanaians gave them 88. and they are using only 18. Next election will reduce it further. 88, and you are using 18. It means that you need only 18 in the chamber. So we will let the electorate know that even the 18, you are not using them efficiently. So perhaps they should reduce the number further and make it 18. Mr. Speaker, I am not against Order 64 applying. But as you can see, we have the numbers. We have the numbers. We have the numbers. And Mr. Speaker, if you read, you are not insisting on quorum and you want to make statements.
Honourable members, fortified by Order 64, marginal note, quorum in Parliament, Article 102 of the Constitution. I stand on 64(4) to direct to ring the bell.